In the sweltering heat of Vietnam, where the air hung heavy with humidity and the threat of danger, a black and tan German shepherd named Nemo A534 moved silently through the night. His ears twitched, attuned to every rustle, every whisper of the jungle beyond the perimeter of Tan Son Nhut Air Base. Beside him, Airman Second Class Robert Bob Throneburg, a 22-year-old from Albemarle, North Carolina, gripped his M16 rifle. His heart steady but his senses sharp. It was December 4, 1966, and the base had been rocked by a Viet Cong mortar attack the previous night. 60 enemy fighters had infiltrated, and though many were repelled, stragglers remained hidden, waiting for darkness to strike again. Nemo, serial number A534 tattooed in his left ear, was no ordinary dog. Born in 1962, he had been procured by the U.S. Air Force in 1964 from an Air Force sergeant at K.I. Sawyer Air Force Base in Michigan. After 8 weeks of rigorous sentry dog training at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas, Nemo was deployed to Vietnam in January 1966, assigned to the 377th Security Police Squadron. His first handler, Airman Leonard Bryant Jr., had returned to the States in July, and Nemo was paired with Throneburg. The two bonded quickly, their lives intertwined in a partnership where trust was absolute, and survival depended on each other. That night, Throneburg and Nemo were tasked with patrolling a quarter-mile stretch near an old Vietnamese graveyard, a place steeped in shadow and silence. The air was thick, the stars obscured by clouds, and the ground beneath their feet felt alive with unseen threats. Nemo's training had honed his instincts to a razor's edge. He was a guided muzzle, a warrior bred to detect and destroy. Throneburg, 5 months into his Vietnam tour, had never fired his weapon in combat, but he trusted Nemo's senses more than his own. As they moved past the weathered tombstones, Nemo froze. His hackles rose, his tail stiffened, and his eyes locked on the darkness ahead. Throneburg's pulse quickened. "Watch him," he whispered, his voice barely audible. Nemo's muscles tensed, ready to spring. Then a faint rustle, movement in the shadows. Before Throneburg could radio for backup, the night exploded with gunfire. "Get him," Throneburg commanded, releasing Nemo. The German shepherd lunged forward, a blur of ferocity, charging into the enemy's nest. Throneburg followed, his M16 barking as he fired into the darkness. In those chaotic first moments, Nemo and Throneburg took down 2 Viet Cong guerrillas, their bodies crumpling in the dirt. But the enemy was not alone. A hail of bullets tore through the air, and Throneburg felt a searing pain in his left shoulder. The force spun him, and another round struck his back, knocking him to the ground. Blood seeped into the earth as he struggled to stay conscious, his radio crackling with his desperate call for help. Nemo too was hit. A bullet ripped through his face, entering under his right eye and exiting through his mouth, shattering bone and blinding him in one eye. Pain screamed through his body, but Nemo's spirit was unbroken. Ignoring his grievous wound, the 85-pound dog threw himself at the remaining guerrillas, his snarls echoing like thunder. His ferocious attack bought Throneburg precious seconds, forcing the enemy to retreat into the night. As silence fell, Nemo staggered back to his handler. Throneburg lay motionless, his breath shallow, his life slipping away. With blood streaming from his mangled face, Nemo crawled across Throneburg's body, positioning himself as a shield. He growled low, baring his teeth at any who dared approach, friend or foe. Even as his strength waned, Nemo's loyalty held firm. He would protect his handler until his last breath. Minutes later, a quick reaction team arrived. their flashlights cutting through the darkness. They found Nemo draped over Throneburg, his one good eye glaring, his body trembling but unyielding. The airmen hesitated, wary of the wounded dog's ferocity. "He won't let us near," one whispered. They radioed for a former handler, Airman Leonard Bryant, who had worked with Nemo before Throneburg. Bryant, now back at the base, rushed to the scene. "Nemo, it's me," he called softly. Only then did Nemo relent, allowing medics to reach Throneburg. Both man and dog were rushed to the base's medical center. Throneburg, critically wounded, was airlifted to a hospital in Japan, where he would undergo 5 surgeries over 7 months to repair his shoulder. The pain would haunt him for the rest of his life, a daily reminder of that night. Nemo, meanwhile, was in the hands of base veterinarian Lieutenant Raymond T. Hudson. The bullet had devastated his face, and Hudson feared he might not survive. Performing a tracheotomy and multiple skin grafts, the veterinary team worked tirelessly to save the heroic dog. Nemo's right eye was gone, but his heart still beat strong. Against all odds, Nemo recovered. For a time, he returned to perimeter duty at Tan Son Nhut. His senses sharper despite his blindness in one eye. But his wounds required further care, and on June 23, 1967, Air Force Headquarters made a historic decision. Nemo would be the first sentry dog officially retired from active service and returned to the United States with honors. On July 22, 1967, Nemo stepped off a C-124 Globemaster at Kelly Air Force Base in Texas, greeted by a welcome committee led by Captain Robert M. Sullivan, officer in charge of the Sentry Dog Training Program at Lackland. Nemo's return was a triumph, but it was bittersweet. Of the roughly 4,000 dogs deployed to Vietnam, only about 200 would make it back to the States. Many were euthanized or abandoned, deemed equipment by the military despite the protests of their handlers. Nemo, however, became a symbol of hope and valor. At Lackland Air Force Base, he was given a permanent kennel near the veterinary facility, its sign proclaiming his heroic exploits. Alongside Captain Sullivan, Nemo embarked on cross-country tours and television appearances, recruiting more dogs for the war effort and inspiring a generation of handlers. Throneburg, recovering in Japan, was reunited with Nemo one last time at Tan Son Nhut's hospital before they parted ways. In a photograph from that day, Nemo leans toward Throneburg, who scratches his neck with a smile, their bond unbroken by distance or pain. Throneburg returned to North Carolina, earning 2 Purple Hearts, the Bronze Star Medal with Valor, and the Warrior's Medal of Valor for his actions. He later graduated with a degree in architectural drafting and worked at nuclear stations, retiring in 1999 but continuing as a contractor. He lived with his wife, Patricia, their great-granddaughter, and 2 rescue dogs, Maggie and Bessie, until his death on February 5, 2020, at age 75. Nemo's final years were spent at Lackland, where he was cared for by veterinary technicians who adored him. His health declined with age, and in December 1972, shortly before Christmas, he was euthanized to spare him further suffering. He was 11 years old. On March 15, 1973, Nemo was laid to rest at the Department of Defense Dog Center, his kennel preserved as a memorial. A poem, attributed to Throneburg, was inscribed in his honor. Ferocious without self-regard, bonds never broken, loyal till death, defender of the night. He was a war dog. Nemo A534 was more than a soldier. He was a hero, a guardian, and a friend who, despite unimaginable pain, never wavered in his duty to protect the man he loved.